welcome to another edition of Almost Martha. And today, the weather forecast called for rain and high winds, but the sun is kind of playing peekaboo out there. So my plan was to make some chili for today because it's going to be chilly. I think it is going to get colder tonight. So we're going to make some chili. And when I make chili, I usually make a gigantic pot of it so I can freeze some for later. It's awfully nice during the week when you don't feel like cooking, you don't really want to order out, just to pull something out of the freezer. So that's my plan. I normally don't use a recipe. I pull things out of my cabinet, jalapenos and jalapeno juice and all that good stuff. But I'm going to work it out with you so we'll actually have a plan so that you can duplicate the big pot of chili. So hang on and let's go. We'll start with a medium onion, and we want to chop the onion into relatively small pieces. You want it to, be an onion, of course, and you don't want it to disintegrate, but you also don't want it so big that you're going to get a big hunk of onion in a bite. So I've got onion, and I'll take the skin off, and then we'll chop it down. Now, I did say I'm going to make a lot of chili, so I have 2 pounds of ground beef here. And once we chop the onions, we'll combine the onions and the beef and cook that together right on the stove. And that will be how we will begin. Oh. Okay, so I've heated my pot up, and I just put those onions right in the pot. I hear them starting to sizzle a little bit. Grab my spatula. Okay, I did spray just a little bit of Pam in there because, I don't know, I just think it helps. So now I'm just going to break up this meat. Luckily, this meat's rather fresh. So I've got nice little strips of beef going in, which means I have less meat to break up later as it's cooking. So try to get that meat in there in small pieces if you possibly can. Otherwise, you'll have big hunks of beef in there. If you like that, you like that. So it's up to you. So this is about 2 pounds of hamburger meat, and this is 1 medium onion. It's not finely chopped. I would say it's sort of medium chopped. So you want not gigantic pieces of onion. Once I get the beef in here, I will add salt and pepper to it. Okay. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So that is all my beef. Now I am going to spray put some salt and pepper in here. First, I'm going to wash my hands. Be very careful as you're cooking, as you're handling beef, if you're handling chicken or pork or anything. You really have to be mindful of washing your hands, and watching that your hands are clean. Okay. So I just salted the meat. I'm going to stir it up. So now all of the onions and the beef are all mixed together, which is good because then the onion is going to help flavor the beef as it cooks. So I would say about a teaspoon of salt, teaspoon and a half of salt. And then just a few grinds of pepper. Okay, I'm going to take my heat back up a little bit, and we're going to cook our hamburger meat. While our hamburger meat is cooking, we're going to take a can of dark kidney beans and a can of black beans, and we're going to rinse them off. Never just dump a can beans right into your chili or anything. You really have to give it a good rinse. It's a bit healthier for you to eat when you do it this way too. So just put a colander in your sink, give those beans a good rinse, make sure all the goop is out, and we'll start with that. We may not need more beans in this. I think this should be fine, but we'll let these drain until we're ready, and then we'll wash the sink out. This hamburger meat did not have a really high fat content, so we are cooking out a lot of the water that's in this meat. So I don't see a lot of grease in the bottom of this pan. It looks like it's fully cooked. We can get it just a little bit brown, and then we'll try to get out some remaining moisture, see if there's any whatever grease might be in there. I'm sure there's some, right? But a lot of a lot of the liquid that came out as it was cooking was water. So that water gets evaporated. And now we are almost ready. I just want to get it a tiny bit more brown before we go to the next step. Okay. I know even though there's not a lot of grease in here, I know there's some. You know, we all just do what we can, right? So we'll take this out. We'll drain this meat so it's not super greasy. You really don't want to make your chili and then find grease floating at the top of it. It's not very appetizing. So I'm just getting the meat out, and we're going to wipe this pan out before we go to the next step. That's basically all the meat that's in there. Now I'm just going to wipe it out. What remaining grease is in there out. Okay. Now I'm going to put 1 can of crushed tomatoes. Put that right in the pot. Now, if your stove is on too high, it's immediately going to start bubbling and popping up on you. So make sure you are on like a medium-low heat when you start putting the tomato stuff in there. I also have 1 can of petite diced tomatoes. These are fire roasted, so they're going to have a little bit of heat. They're going to be nice and beautiful. And I have 1 can of tomato sauce, so that I'm going to add in as well. This point with the tomato sauce, I'm going to add a little bit of water, swirl it around, and add it to the pot. So I think that's about 1/4 cup of water. Yeah, that's about a 1/4 cup. We'll probably add more water in just a minute. It needs a little water because this has to cook. This tomato sauce has to cook down, and it might get too thick if we don't add more liquid. Okay, now I'm going to add my meat back into the pot. And we got some grease out of there. It wasn't terribly greasy, but every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. Now I'm going to add my beans. So these are my 2 cans of beans that we had drained in the sink. And now we're going to stir it all together. Okay. I'm going to add 1 more can of tomato sauce. So that'll come to a total of 2. There we go. There we go. I'm going to add enough more water to pick up the rest of that tomato sauce. And another 1/4 cup. Okay, now we can start to add some of the fun stuff. So instead of any more water, I'm going to add some jalapeno juice right out of the jar. 1, 2, 3 tablespoons. The jalapeno juice. And I'm also going to add, I don't have a whole jalapeno on hand, so I'm going to add enough slices to really kind of build one jalapeno. We can leave these in the chili until later, or before you serve them, you can fish them out. So it's just got the flavor of the jalapeno in there. Stir this in. Okay. I also like to add a little better than bouillon beef flavoring in here. This is about half a teaspoon. This just gives it a richer flavor. That's also a good reason why we added some water. Stir that in. That will cook in over time. And now the most important thing, we've got to add the chili powder. This is really what makes it chili. Okay, so this is 1 tablespoon of chili powder. Oh yeah, that smells like chili. That totally smells like chili. But I think we need a little more. So I'll start with that's 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon of chili powder. Some people really like chili powder, some people don't. My mother, hi Mom, my mother hates chili powder. So she would put the bare minimum of chili powder in her chili, but I really love it. It's what gives it that flavor. So my chili always has a lot of chili powder, and my mother has complimented my chili, so she has liked my chili. All right, now we are going to let this cook. And we're also going to watch the liquid content. So I've added about half a cup of water. I'm going to add another 1/4 cup. Because it needs that water in order to cook. We'll also be able to judge in a little while if we're going to need more chili powder. Okay, we have reached the point where we just need to let this cook. So we're going to put a lid on it. We're going to let it cook for a while. I usually like to cook this about 3 or 4 hours, and it's going to turn a beautiful, more caramely kind of color, and we know it's done. Now, if you would like more beans, add more beans. I only added 2 cans. Sometimes I add a lot more. So I'll kind of judge that for myself a bit later. If you like your chili more soupy, you can always add more liquid. If you like it a little more sturdy, you can stick your spoon in it and it stands straight up. You can certainly, cook it down until the liquid has reached that point. But now I'm just gonna put a lid on it, clean up the kitchen, and let it cook. And we'll check it back in on it in just a little while. Okay, let's take a look. Well, this is it. This is the color that we have been waiting for. So it's a nice, dark, rich color. Looks exactly the way that chili should look. So now I'm going to taste it. Oh yeah. Oh, that's really good. And I think it's like perfectly spiced. You can tell that it's spicy, kind of hits you on the back of the throat. It's not too spicy. And I love that we did it just with peppers. So you can see the jalapeno peppers in here. If you want to pull those out before you serve them, pull them out. But they're big enough that anybody who gets them in their bowl can see them, and they could eat them or they could not eat them. So this is going to be dinner tonight. We're going to top it with a little cheese, maybe some chopped sweet onion. I have some Vidalia onion, some chopped sweet onion to put on top. I have tortilla chips. I also have some oyster crackers. So, oh yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So if you want this recipe for how to make this big pot of chili, just go to almost-martha.com and you'll see the whole recipe. And I've cooked it for about 2.5 hours. And now it's really at the perfect consistency. It's not too thin. It's not too thick. And it all just turned out really, really, really good. So it's easy, sort of hands off. I did stir it throughout the 2.5 hours that it was cooking to make sure that it didn't stick on the bottom. And yeah, here we go. Dinner tonight, something tomorrow, and the rest for the freezer. But actually, there is one more thing that I have to tell you about this chili, and I'll be showing you that next. Ready? Chili, day 2. Here it is. It's chili and eggs. Scrambled eggs on the bottom, chili and cheese, hash browns, corn muffins. Oh yeah, it is so good. And I know some of you might be thinking, chili and eggs, no, that's no good. No, it is. It is. Mark didn't believe me when I first told him about chili and eggs. Now he does. Now he loves it too. So you try it too. So if you want, see this recipe, go download it from the website. It's almost-martha.com. And I hope you try it. I hope you try chili and eggs. It's really good. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye, Mom. Bye. Stay warm.